quiet.
All right, let's get this thing rolling. Welcome to the October 8th Shellfish Committee meeting. Before we get started, I'd like to make a notice of recording. Please note that this meeting is recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. And in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting, and if so, to make their please make their presence known. All right. First order of business is to approve meeting minutes from September 10th.
I make a motion to approve the meeting from September 10th.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Good.
First off, we have a new member on the committee, Jim Wheeler. If you would like to introduce yourself, give a little background.
Okay, it's Weiler.
Weiler, excuse me, sorry.
I moved to the Cape in August 2019. Been a recreational, shellfish guy for those years. Helped the DNR with shellfish propagation with that. I'm a member of bars. Trying to learn this stuff, so I took that Hui class on how to be a commercial shellfisher for 8 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever that was. And I've actually watched every committee video of 2023, 2024, and 2025. So I feel like I've been staring at you guys for 28 hours and you've never seen me. But I'm just trying to learn all the issues and the terminology. Anything I hear I don't understand, I go write it down, look it up. So eventually I thought, well, why don't I try to help out? So I thought it's really cool to sit at this table once a month, that's all. I figured I'd come up with a reason to do that, so that's it.
Awesome. All right, well, welcome and thanks for joining. Could use it. That's the last time I'll get your name wrong too. All right, the only other thing I wanted to mention before we got going was the trailer ordeal with the home occupation. So I was just sending an email to let everyone know in the fishery, and then it kind of blew up. But nothing's changed yet. It's still set for November with planning. What they do is they either recommend it or not to town council, and then they decide. We'll see if it gets to that point, but it was a good showing for that planning board. I mean, the main thing was like the wording was vague, and it obviously affects us. They can say doesn't mean boats for recreational people, but we're all commercial, or most of us are commercial here. So it's just letting you guys know, and it's kind of taken off on it's own, but I'll keep you updated. Nothing new, just other than that November meeting. So now we'll go to Amy for natural resources report.
Okay, so I think everyone on the committee at least has a copy of October year-to-date shellfish permit sales. Residents 2024, at this point in time, 1343, this year 1674. Non-resident permits 396 last year at this time, 394 as of now. Resident senior permits in 2024, 1,005, and as of now, 975. Non-resident veterans have increased from 50 to 53. Non-resident veteran seniors have increased from 78 to 84, and seasonal permits went from 51 to 62. People who do purchase a seasonal permit do have the option of upgrading their permit to a year-round permit, should they choose to, because seasonal permits are only good from the beginning of June through the end of August. So it basically just covers you for the summer season, and some people decide they want to stick around for oyster season. Resulting because of fee changes, and a year-to-date income difference from last year of $147,220 to this year $181,425. So we can see, even though we did increase the price of non-resident permits, that people are still purchasing them. Does anyone have any questions from the committee regarding that? Okay, so we have a number of things to go through because October and November yields a lot of changes in seasons, conditionally improved areas opening. Because of the utter lack of legal scallops and our want to not destroy eelgrass, we have made a closure of what is typically known as the no boating zone off of Calmus. We have a line of green buoys that kind of goes out from here across from, SD Ave to Calmus. And so far, so good. Even after that storm, I just went out there today and with the tides and the winds, I found, I think, maybe 10, 12 tops, actual dead washed up scallops. So they're not there this year. And I'm sorry if you're a rec person that absolutely loves the fact that we had a couple good years of scalloping, but the reality is scalloping hasn't really been great recreationally in this town for well over 40 years. And so when it's good, and when it's not, it just literally doesn't exist. We have 3 bays, which hopefully, water quality pending November 1st, we will have opening of North Bay, we'll have opening of the Superior River. They're actually going out to do water quality sampling next week for those openings. And then the Katuitt Town landing mooring area, subject to the amount of boats that could be having marine sanitation devices on them. We're also hoping that that will open November 1st, which would be great because we planted the oysters off the Katuitt Town dock. And if that doesn't open on time for the 5th, it's gonna be weird, but sometimes life is weird. So Barnstable Harbor, we have our November 1st, which water quality pending, Mill Creek will open up. So far, everything is looking promising, but they'll be testing that probably the week after they do water quality sampling in 3 bays this upcoming week. And then, of course, for November 5th, we have the opening of the Scudder Lane recreational area for oyster season. Also water quality pending, we have November 1st, the opening of Shoestring Bay, which has been closed since April 1st. This one, in spite of like a lot of nutrients going in all the time, I haven't in all my years had a late opening there. So a couple of commercial reminders within the Bay Street Relay area, which is basically like from the boat ramp to the right, will remain closed to commercial shellfishing until the new year, which is Thursday, January 1st. That's to give the rec people a hot minute to get in there, get some quahogs for the holidays ahead of it opening commercially. And in addition, the Katuitt Bay relay area, which is where we have planted the oysters for this year, we haven't done contaminated relays there for years. So there's like a couple of seamers and maybe some quahogs smattered around, but nothing really to speak of. It will be closed to commercial shellfish effective November 1st. And then, oyster season opens up November 5th. And regardless of where you are, it is 1 peck per week on a recreational permit. It's something that the propagation team has been working towards basically the entire time I've been employed here. And we think this year is the year that we have enough on the bottom to just go to a full peck. And honestly, arguing over what a half a peck is because of the beveled baskets is a challenge. And so giving it a whirl at a peck has frustrated some people. They think it's gonna result in an earlier end to the season, but we literally don't know unless we try. And we want it to be sustainable at 1 peck. So this is a learning experience for us. Hopefully it's a success. And then by way of reminder, scallop season opened Wednesday, October 1st, both commercially and recreationally. Does anyone have any question about growing area updates or seasons of things that are coming into play this time of year? It's all pretty standard at this point. And then the last thing I have, somewhere in here, so much easier to find. Well, I had a propagation report in here somewhere, and it seems to be lost in these papers. If you give me 1 moment, I can find it on my phone because it was submitted to me via email. But essentially, we're in full-on planting mode. Everything on the south side in terms of quahogs has been planted. They're almost completely done on the north side. In terms of putting oysters on the bottom for the season, everything on the south side in terms of oysters has been planted. We were able to get around 1,000 scallops that were around 1 inch, which was part of the reason I went to Calamus today, was to kind of check on those just to make sure that they're still in the ocean, and they are, so that's good.
What are those in? Yeah, what you guys end up doing?
So we weren't allowed to deploy any gear, so they're literally like they field planted them in the eelgrass. And due to the closure, people not being able to go in there, it was what they could give us because they couldn't fulfill our initial order. It was what we could work with, and so we basically just free planted them like we used to in say like 3 bays when we would buy them at field plant size and then just see how they do the following year. And so we're giving it a whirl in Hyannis because there's at least existing eelgrass there. So as the 2025 season comes to a close, the shellfish propagation crew has been working hard to get all shellfish on the ground before the water temperature drops. We've had a great growing year with both our oysters and quahogs. They're almost done with quahog planting. So far, they've planted a little over 3 million quahogs under 62 nets. They're on track to finish planting all clams in the coming weeks in preparation for planting, as well as our normal digging to stock different recreational and commercial areas around town. The crew has dug 547 bushels of clams and scattered them from our nursery areas around town, typically in our relay areas and also our recreational only areas. They're beginning to shift gears to focus on oyster planting in preparation for opening day, November 5th. Both our single oysters and remote set are looking beautiful this season, setting us up well for the 1 peck limit on both sides of town. They've continued our regular maintenance, including cleaning quahog nets, fixing gear, and tending to the seeds in the Flupsy. Next month, the Shellfish Advisory Panel meeting falls on the same day as our meeting. Because I sit on the Shellfish Advisory Panel, I'll be attending that meeting. So November will be when you get your annual propagation report. So you can expect either Liz or Jess and possibly Cece, and then Chris Nappy and also Director Ian McColeman at the November meeting to give the annual propagation report while I'm there. And then also of note, on the 24th of October, there is the Green Crab Symposium out in Danvers. I'm unable to attend it because of pheasant stalking, which is just part of my job. The 24th of October. But Wayne Castingway, who works for Division Marine Fisheries, is going to be in attendance and plans on providing an update from that meeting, not only to the Mass Shellfish Officers Association, which is going to meet on the 29th of October, at SMAST East out in New Bedford, but also plans on providing an update to the Shellfish Advisory Panel when they meet on November 12th.
That goes by county, right? Or
Yeah.
Is it
So
it'd be the whole
this
county.
is something that was specific just to the North Shore until now, and so it's really like how to get the 25,000 per like town that would be like in kind in addition to whatever the state can do.
And
So
if anyone is not aware, it's pretty much I found out about a bounty program they do on the North Shore, and literally it's just like funding to get green crabs in so you can kind of control the species. I figured it was another way to get guys, or a reason to take them out of there. I mean, I know there's a lot of them, but why not, so.
How much is it a bushel, do you have any?
I'm not sure, it was surprising, it was surprising kind of what
I
they
heard
were
like
paying
40
up
or
there.
60 cents or something.
Yeah,
it was
something like
40
that.
cents a pound initially. There's mixed reviews in terms of whether or not that's actually meaningful, given like you have to ask for amendments, I think, to your permit, or additional endorsements if you want to put out more traps, and also time of year restrictions can be tricky. So I think that's all kind of stuff that they're going to try to suss out at this symposium.
And then, like, I think for up there, they have additional funding added to it also, on top of it. So,
People
and I,
wanting them out of there.
yeah, yeah, cause I mean, stuff, there's been reports up in Maine, like towns are flipping out because they get one green crab in there, but, I mean, it's serious stuff. I don't know, we'll see what comes of it.
Is there any traction with Liz or anybody coming to more, I remember we touched base on it at one point in time, trying to get her here once, twice, 3 times a year.
Yeah, I think 2 times a year, so once for the annual, because basically around that time of year is when they're planning what they're gonna
Okay,
be
that's right,
purchasing
the
for the
cycling.
following year
Okay.
anyway. So instead of like having it be quarterly or, you know, 3 times a year, it made more sense
It's a heavy topic, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But potentially 2 instead of 1.
I know that before, one of the concerns was like the cost of having the extra employee here, but at the November meeting, it sounds like there's gonna be 5 town employees here.
No, I think 3 in
3?
total.
Okay,
Yeah.
but how come 3?
So Nina to address like any budgetary director-minded questions that are relevant to the annual propagation report. The shellfish biologist or one of her technicians to actually give the report because they're the ones that do the work. And Chris, because he, like me, is, you know, out there every day, and seeing it through a different purview.
So he would be your position at the meeting on November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Now we'll move on to upcoming proposed coastal projects. First one is 265 Seaview Ave in Osterville. No one here representing?
No,
them?
yeah, Chuck had emailed and said
Oh,
he wasn't
okay,
gonna be
that's right.
able to attend, but would answer any questions that we had. This didn't require a shellfish survey. All work is supposed to be done within the same footprint, and so there wasn't really any issue on our end, and it went to conservation yesterday, but I don't have an update in terms of what the, you know, what the findings were from the commission for you guys this evening, unfortunately.
Anyone with any questions about this project? No? All right. Moving on to the next one, it's 129 Main Street, Oxville. John here.
Yeah,
Would you like to present this one?
sure, I can come up for a sec. This is 129 Main Street. It's the old white 2-story boathouse with a roof deck, 6 doors before the bridge. And they're proposing a bulkhead just kind of along the face of that boathouse or just seaward of that. It's above mean high, above the marsh. We're gonna have a work limit up above the marsh. I don't think there'll be anything touching shellfish areas, but we will need to coordinate a landing point because we can't get at this from the land. So I'm anticipating having some sort of a condition with conservation that there's a pre-meeting with everyone involved to figure out the best place to do it.
Any concerns from you guys?
Yeah, no, I think the only thing that Liz was concerned with was if they have to go by water, just making sure that we know exactly what area they'll be utilizing and when they plan on starting the work, so we could get in there to move any stock that's there ahead of work commencing, which is pretty standard.
Any questions? Nothing? All right. And then you have the 200 North Bay Road as well?
They do.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to go on to that one.
Sure, so this is 200 North Bay Road, existing timber bulkhead along the property. And we are proposing replacement of that. The work is gonna be from the land, all the equipment's gonna be on the land. We are gonna put the bulkhead on the seaward face of it so that we can leave the existing bulkhead so we don't have siltation coming off the land into the water. We've been staying in communication with Chris Gargiulo, as his grant is right there, and he's asked us to just kind of keep him appraised of work and scheduling, things like that.
Anything from the department?
I think the only question we had was at the 2.5 feet seaward into land that, is, shellfish habitat, where it's a bulkhead. I know you weren't required to do a shellfish survey. We were wondering why you chose to go seaward with it rather than back on land.
So we chose to go seaward with it, and there was discussions with Chris about it before we even started working on anything on paper, because we can leave the existing. If we wanna go in its footprint or landward of it, we have to rip it out, and then we've got 6 feet of earth right up, it's up against the tide, it's on the water. So there would be siltation issues if we took it out.
Okay.
So we kept it as tight as we could. It's that 24 inches plus or minus, because like the pile, everything's that's from sheet to sheet. So that includes kind of the diameters of existing piles and stuff, but we tried to put in our work right against the existing posts and building it as tight as we can.
Okay.
Any questions from Minnie?
I had a question while I was looking at it. They're gonna use herbicides on that hill. How are they gonna keep that from getting into, because that oyster farm is right there?
I believe that will all be just dabs, not spraying herbicides, so that the plants suck it
It's
all up.
specific to the,
Specific to the stems of the plants. Wasn't really prepared for that question, but yes.
Well, because that's Wilkinson, right?
What plants are
It's a
that?
different company.
Rosa rugosa and
And vines
Yeah.
and
bittersweet.
bittersweet.
How they do it with cranberries.
Yeah, and often like Phragmites, yeah.
Not checking, you can have Roundup. All right,
Thank you.
all right, that's it, thanks, John. All right, on to the apprenticeship program. Before we get started, I have received concerns from all over the place, and I kind of just wanna set the record straight, with people that kind of don't know what's going on, and then where we're at. So we have 7 apprentices at the moment in the program. We had a regulation change, we voted, we met, talked as a committee, we voted on it. And the only right thing to do is to honor the current regulations for that program for those 7 apprentices. So any changes we make will not affect those 7 apprentices, because they went into the program with the current state that it was at. We met, we voted on it, those are set for those 7. However, I do recommend to Natural Resources that we put the program on a hold. Don't, kind of not allow any new apprentices at the moment until we figure out a game plan for the program moving forward. I'm just trying to, make things clearer. It just seems like everyone's heading in a different direction. But because of what we already voted on a while ago, to punish the current apprentices, because we feel like, oh, we made a mistake, that's just not gonna happen. So, just letting that be known. That does mean that if, I think, they get their master commercial license after, so there could potentially be 7 new licenses added. So that, I know we had concerns about that, but I mean, once again, we're gonna just stick to what was passed, put it on pause, and then we can readjust going forward. But I think that's just, I just wanna make that clear, cause that's just how it is. So, if that's okay with Natural Resources, I think that's kind of
Yeah, I mean,
the best way to kind of keep things where they're at, and then moving forward, can get a better plan going.
Figure out what it looks like.
Yeah,
Do the seven go in automatically without a lottery? They just.
that's what we voted for.
When did we vote for that?
That was, that was before,
Something.
Who brought this up and when was it brought, like,
Paul Hamlin brought it to our attention and was concerned at the time with the age restriction, which I think we increased to 18 at the time.
That makes sense.
And that, cause I think it used to be 16, yeah. And now the concern is possibly making that 21 moving forward. Obviously, you know, in the time that I've worked here, there have only, and actually it wasn't even when I worked here yet. There were 2 apprentices that came through the program. There was Paul Hamlin and there was Jacob Burnham. And then since then, there's been a and then it was re-mentioned, interest in it, and then a number of people, over the past year had, wanted to sponsor kids in town for commercial licenses. My understanding of it and the way that I had explained at the time was that if a person goes through the apprentice program and they get their master permit, if they hold that permit for 5 years, domicile, payment, all of your requirements, then at the end of that 5th year, it would become another number in what is a closed fishery. So then say like on year 6, 7, 8, 9, 15, whatever, if they decide to relinquish that permit, don't want it anymore, I want to be a doctor, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to open my own business, and at that point, that permit would go to the lottery, which has between typically 20 and 30 people in it, a lot of which are repeat names that I see year after year. So it seemed like this privileged permit that would go to the apprentice, if they keep it long enough, you can keep it forever. Lovely, becomes a master permit. After those 5 years, however, if you don't keep it anymore, it gets reverted to the lottery and is then offered to somebody who has been, vying for one of those permits for potentially just that year, but potentially there are people that I see on there every single year since I've been working here.
So the apprentice, people who do the apprentice, that's the quickest and easiest way to get in without having to go through the long waiting process of getting lucky.
And that has been
Yeah, that's-
established for a long time, since
Yeah.
before my time working here.
Just to show
And that was when they had kind of like open fishery, when we didn't have domicile requirements for commercial permits, there were like over 200 people in the fishery. And then when they started having domicile requirements and people were sort of falling off. And then it was, as I understand, like people getting into fistfights in line to be one of the first people into the building to get those permits for the year. And then it became for every, it wasn't you, no. And then it was for every 3 that came out, they would let one in. And then through what, at that point, shellfish biologist Thomas Marcotti called attrition, we landed at 47, and that was sort of where it acquired a stasis. And so 47 became the number, and then the apprentice program, as I understand, was a way to potentially add not only people who are being sponsored by a commercial permit holder into the fishery, potentially forever, or if they give it up through what we voted on, it could go to the lottery and still be, added.
Hey, wasn't the apprentice program only good up until 16 years of age?
It
If
was.
you're 17, you're not eligible to be an apprentice.
That's true. And then Paul Hamlin came to this committee and said he had somebody who was interested at the time and had said he thought 18 would be more appropriate.
Of course.
Because I ended up with my kids when I was shellfishing full-time. I had custody of my kids. So I went to Doug and there was also 175 diggers at the time. I went to Doug and I asked him, "Okay, is there any way I can let my kids go out here? Cause I need to go to work, whatever. Is there anything that can be done?" And he goes, "Well, we have an apprentice program on the books, but no one's ever used it. So we'll check into it." So him, Skippy Gifford was on the board, we got together, talked about it, and there was no time, it was 2 years. So my kids both got their licenses. I actually did it for 4 of my kids. 2 of my kids got their licenses that year because they were gonna be 14. They got it on their 14th birthday. On the 16th birthday, they got their master's license. All 4 of them at one point had their master's license. One of them stuck it out. One of them was very successful. I'm happy about that. So the other 3, yeah, the licenses, I believe, went back into I believe that jumped the licenses up a couple of, if I'm not mistaken.
It might have, like I said,
But it
that
wasn't
was before
really-
my
I mean,
time.
at the point, we were digging steamers in Scorton Creek at 70 cents a pound, and we were getting about 60 or 70 pounds per day. So my kids didn't want anything to do with it, either did I, but that's what it was at the time. There was no, the harbor was dug out, there was nothing to do for 4 or 5 years, there was no razor clamps. Matter of fact, the razor clamps, I've had my license for 30-something odd years, second time I've ever seen a razor clamp set in Barnstable Harbor. And everybody's like, oh, razor clamp, razor clamp. I don't think you should have to get a specific license just for razor clamps. If you wanna go on an apprentice, you should, at one point, you could get a license for $50 to go dig steamers in Barnstable Harbor. And then it was $50 to upgrade if you wanted, but you also had to have your license for a period of time before you could go pumping or become a master license holder. All that changed over the years,
I think
but
in the early
that's how it was back then.
2000s, I think that changed. I
Yeah,
think it might have been the 90s. Where it was like a master permit had like you bought an endorsement for each
1999,
like
everything changed, I'm pretty sure.
species, yeah,
Endorsement based versus.
right, versus just paying one flat fee for a master license that would cover you for whatever.
the problem was that everybody would, for $50, you could go dig steamers, well, that's all, you know, the lifeguards at the Millway Beach and everything else, they go pay $50 and then they go dig steamers in Barnstable Harbor and they leave.
Right,
So that's why we dropped we raised the license to $500.
so you're saying no endorsements,
I'm saying what?
no endorsements,
No, no, I'm not saying that.
no? You're saying that essentially where we decided that 400 hours, you're more in favor of just 2 years and for whatever?
Well, it was just a 2-year period, it wasn't, there wasn't a time.
I don't think he's suggesting anything, you're just giving your
I'm sorry,
experience.
I'm really hard of hearing.
You're just giving your experience, you're not suggesting anything, right? Or,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're just giving his.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Scott, I
Yeah,
appreciate it, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, Bruce Blackman, just a question for clarification. I know you're gonna keep the current 7 apprentices in the program. You plan on not making any changes, relaxing the regulations, and they'll be subject to the current regulations? You're not gonna relax like the hours or extend the
No.
age limits? Okay.
No. So, yeah, those 7 that are actively in the program, I think should be allowed to continue doing what they're doing.
Okay.
We just put the program on hold for any additional apprentices. You know, that way we can get a footprint made and then, you know, there's no going back to it.
But the requirements for the hours and the age requirements aren't gonna change for those 7?
No.
That's basically, okay.
Yeah, they signed up at the time to a program, so, it's only right to honor that, especially if we talked about it within the last year. Jake?
As far as the hours for the people that are in it now, are they just gonna be able to do whatever they want and sleep in the boat and play on the beach and they get their hours that way?
So, I mean, the way I see it is, unless the department has, you know, any issues with the active apprentices now, I mean, it's,
You're supposed to be shellfishing and they're not though.
I mean,
That's okay.
that's something to report
Said-
to them.
Well, that's what I'm
And
talking about now.
I mean, they're the
There's
officers,
kids playing
you
on the
know.
beach for an hour, not helping at all, and getting hours for that, or sleeping in the boat because they went to a concert late. You know, I don't, I mean, it says you gotta be helping, it says you gotta be actively fishing, no? I mean, so, I know there's been the whole reason we're here is basically because of one group of kids that isn't working out there and a lot of people have seen it. That's kind of why we're here, really. It could have been all avoided if they were working, but, and now you're saying that they just can, why don't we just give them a license now if they, why even bring them out?
There's also others in the apprentice program too.
I understand that.
And that's the thing,
So they
it's-
should be, you know, held accountable for their hours in some way, I mean, just to say they're out there and that I think that that's learn, I mean, if they're not helping clamming, they're not, they shouldn't get their 400 hours, they should be working.
and I mean, that's the job of the department, you know?
Yeah, so I think like if that's, and I understand that it's probably very hard for the department to handle that. So like moving forward, I don't think there should be any apprentice program at all.
How do you regulate that? How do you regulate what they're doing out there?
They can do, well, first, how they regulate what we're doing out there, you know, they can come out, they can look, they got binoculars, they can, you can do a logbook, you can do all their, so we can't track anything and we're just gonna let everybody get their, then why even have hours if you can't track it?
That's that's actually my point, why to have the hours, documented hours? How many, so who needs, we'll start off with 10 hours. Who needs 400 hours or 1,000 hours to learn how to squirt some water in a hole, pick up a razor clam, put it in a basket?
Then let's just give everybody, let's open the
Okay,
fishery
so
up
if
then.
you get your license in the lottery,
Yeah,
okay? At 10 o'clock in the morning, you win the lottery here at Barnstable, DNR, you got picked, you get your license. 11 o'clock, you can go out there, raise a claim, and no training, no nothing, you can get in any boat you want and go out there and do whatever you wanna do.
Exactly.
And do whatever you
that's
want,
the beauty of it.
huh?
That's the beauty of the lottery permit.
I
You win
know,
the,
but
it's
why do
literally,
you
you
need
win the
1,000 hours
lottery.
or 400
You win the
hours?
lottery.
But why do you need, if you're an apprentice trainer or trainee, why do you need 400 hours to learn how to pick up a razor clam off the ground?
Because it's circumventing the lottery, you're getting a license that is a very coveted license that a lot of people want and will wait their entire life and never get. And you get to skip all that, and there's never been an apprentice program in the world that is 400 hours for a license, ever. There's never been, that's ridiculous, that's a joke, that's like not even a summer's worth of work.
And that's why the program is on hold.
Yeah.
Or going to be on hold.
Yeah.
So we can figure something out.
I think
But we're not gonna confine the current 7 to that, whatever we
no,
decide,
that's fine.
because it's just, that's the way it is, and I just want
And
to
I'm
make
not
that
asking
clear.
it hours taken away from sleeping in the boat and playing on, but I think that moving forward, there's gotta be some way to like monitor that.
Yeah.
There has to be.
That's what I'm getting at, how do you monitor that?
You can't, we just get rid of the program in general. Just make it the lottery and make it sustainable. And it's been, I know this rule has been around for 20 or 30 years, but it has only been a couple people that used it. Now we have an influx of those people, using it. But other than those 2 or 3 people, it's really just been the lottery. This has been managed by a lottery of 1 or 2, maybe none, in or out. Randomly, some people get them and they only want it as a retirement job. Some people get it and they want a full-time job. Some people get it and they want an insurance policy if they get fired. That's like the beauty of the lottery. So this has worked, and now we're talking about bringing more people in. We're talking about it more. It hasn't really been a couple here, a couple there. It's 7 now. It's gonna be 7, you know, there's half a dozen guys my age in this room that don't have kids yet and might have kids in the next few years, and we all have kids. You know, then you think about other people that might get their name on the lottery, they have kids, you know. Right now, it doesn't even have to be your kid, it could be your neighbors. You're gonna have all the neighbors' kids. So it's a runaway train, you know? That's what I think, you know?
Alright, 1 second. Tyler wanted something to say a while ago.
Yeah, just to address so if these 7 applicants are gonna stay in the program and we're not gonna change them. For the record, I'm against the apprentice program. I think there's no way to monitor it, and it's too easy to get too valuable of a permit. And we've seen a lot of closures throughout town. Our harbors are getting smaller. Habitat degradation is a serious issue, and we have a nice fishery now, and to open it through this loophole it's too easy. So just so people in the room know, everybody sees me with my helper would have qualified 3.5, almost 4 times over this 1 year. So that just tells you the hours are way too low to start. But anyway, aside from all that, to address the 7 that are in the lottery now, I don't really know how the hours are calculated. If it's like, hey, yeah, we got up at 8 and does it start at the boat ramp? Does it start, ramp to ramp or whatever? I think one remedy that might ease some people's worries would be to take like what shellfish are you harvesting today, and maybe add hours to that. So like a razor clam tide, I don't know, you'd be hard pressed to work 3 hours straight out there. That would be a pretty long tide. So that might ease some people's concerns. And then I wanted to also address, because this just makes it so easy to get this permit. I don't think that's fair to the people on the lottery system at all. And adding 7 new people, especially to families that are actively fishing, makes this permit less valuable. So those people that have been on the wait list for 6, 7, 8, a decade and a half, 2 decades, whatever, I don't think that's fair to them. And yeah, that's like one fraction of my opinions on this whole thing, so.
Thanks, Ty.
I'll cut it there.
Hank, oh, you good? Patricia?
So there's no accountability? Essentially, there's no accountability at all. Isn't that the hot spot? Getting some accountability into the program.
That's
Just for the record, I've seen some people, and I like Joe, are you? Is Joe in the corner?
Yeah.
Joe's been bringing his daughter out sporadically for years, and she's next to him digging steamers or clamming, and she's working. And if she went through the permit, I don't think there's anybody who's actually out there every day that wouldn't be like, oh, good for her. She earned it, So that's, you won't, if somebody's gonna use this loophole, you won't, they gotta earn it at least a little bit. And on top of that, maybe there should even be a subcommittee that says, hey, at the end of all this, hey, let's review your stuff. Yeah, you check the boxes, and yes, we all agree that you earned this.
And that's
so welcome.
That's why we're revisiting this, and that's why given the opportunity, we can take our time on it, because we have looked at it before. We got interest in it and kind of didn't blink an eye, but it is what it is. Amy, go ahead.
It's not that we didn't blink an eye, it's just that there was interest from a couple of people that had potential apprentices that then made us look at this already existing regulation and say, there's absolutely no checks and balances at all in place. So we made an attempt at a policy for anyone coming into the program to document hours. You're supposed to call the office, when you're going out. You're supposed to say who the sponsor is, you're taking out apprentice, what you're fishing for, where you're fishing, and then you're supposed to call us back if we're not in the field to check you at a landing, so that we know when the work day is over. If that if that individual is also participating in trips to the wholesale dealer, that is a piece of like public health and compliance that's important to document and is part of training somebody who's gonna be commercially fishing. So I do think that that's valid. Is it perfect? By no means, but prior to us engaging in this and then having 7 people interested in participating in it, which is honestly unprecedented in the time that the apprentice program has been around, we're seeing there are feelings on both ends. This isn't a perfect system. It can be made more meaningful. We need more time for that. Should it affect the people who are currently already in the program? DG and I don't think so.
Can I just make one more comment?
Yeah.
So just to highlight how easy it is to get this 400 hours, since we last talked about the apprentice program and we raised the age, I guess, and then like the hours are 400, totally, just not a lot of hours. Just to highlight how easy this is, there have been a lot of rule changes since that has been approved. For example, we now have dredging. So I could take my apprentice, if I wanted one, and go drive in circles for 10 hours a day for 40 days straight, and he could have a permit like that. Like that's no time at all.
You're gonna go dredging with a 14-year-old for 10 hours, drive around circles?
It doesn't take a
I would have done it
14-year-old
if I was
to
14 years old.
I
I would have done it if I was 14 years
And
old.
guess what?
I didn't have anyone to bring me
I
to
could
this
have
program,
I
you
could
know?
have him sign a contract that says I get 30% of your catch for 5 years or something like that.
Mhm.
That's not what the apprentice program's about.
But it's what can
That's-
happen.
That's
But
what I'm talking about.
that's-
You guys are like going all these different ways.
Well,
Make it, work it simple. 14 to 16, you have your parent, or whatever, you have someone be your mentor. 14 to 16, at 16, if you want your license, you can get one. If you don't want it, you don't add any more licenses to the bank. You either get it, you have the option to get it at 16. Period, done. No monitoring, no looking at people with binoculars and all that stuff, nothing, all done. Very simple. That's how it was for me. It worked out perfect, flawless, no issues.
It's just right.
Joe, and then Tim.
So when Olivia comes, she works hard. She doesn't sit in the boat. She doesn't sleep because she went to a concert late. Every minute that she's there, she's working. I think everybody out there is seeing her work hard. It's pretty undeniable. When we're home, before we leave, she helps put the gear in the boat. We gotta get the salt, the batteries. When we get back, we're gonna break the boat down, then we're gonna go to market. There's a lot to it. She puts in more than just the quote-unquote tide. As far as accountability for some of the other apprentices out there, I think the discussion of that is pathetic. We're talking about kids that are like 10 years old, that are so far away from getting their commercial permits, it's ridiculous. And there's other fishermen in this town that are so worried about somebody else having another license, that are so greedy about the resource that's a public resource, that they're worried about 10-year-old kids swimming in the channel. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I'm worried about it.
Joe, who do we have? Tim, and then Ken.
Just real quick on the hours thing, I was writing down what's required and all that stuff. It does say, and I'm just looking for clarification, the apprentice shall assist only the sponsor or sponsors and only in the harvest of the sponsor's catch limits. So are the hours
Yeah,
just
there you
on,
go.
is that,
It's just on the
This
water.
what
this
is the harvest, I guess is my real question.
This is the issue, is that when we revisited this, like those pieces of the regulation seemed fine as is until we had a bunch of people
Yeah.
out there. And then it was like, well, what does that mean?
Yep.
And so I think that's kind of what we're navigating.
It wasn't when we had a bunch of people, it was when we saw people not fishing, sleeping in the boat, going to concerts. You know, Hank told me that I didn't see them out there.
That was
Oh,
one
there was-
day, Jake, that they
And
were
then
in the
I have a
concert
video of
and
them
for like
just sitting in
20
the
minutes.
corner playing, you know, I mean, that's the problem. I read this and we went
Jake.
over it and I didn't think anything of
Jake.
it.
Jake,
Because I thought they were
Jake. Wait your turn.
Yeah.
Alright, Tim, you all set?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, Candy, go ahead.
So my question is, if this is an established program in writing, in order to put it on hold, do we have to take a vote?
That I'm not sure of.
I mean,
And
I
honest, it's,
welcome a vote on it.
I am welcome to vote on that. I'm not sure how that works. I mean, I don't know what your history is on with something like that.
So is it in the booklet?
So
Is it defined in the
the
booklet?
regulation is
Program?
written is
Yeah.
written, however, like the
is
implementation
kind
of
of
the
the gist
actual
of it.
program is
It's
policy. So it's not
there
written
and then
strictly
a
as a
little on the bottom
regulation.
of 9.
So I mean, if the committee is favorable to what DJ and I have discussed in saying 7 that are here, we'll suspend the program while we all continue to argue this out until, you know, the cows come home.
So, cause my thinking is, I know what you're trying to do is simplify it and to give some breathing room so we can redefine it and make it more clear what the expectations are, what the history is and all that good stuff. But we could complicate it if we suspend it and we don't have the ability to do that. So that's why I'm asking, how do we put a hold on the program so that we don't add another layer of confusion?
As far as,
So
like,
you
how
would
do-
be advising my department
As of
Yes.
this
to,
record date, to
as
not.
of, exactly.
Yes.
Record date of this, we think it's advisable to not to put this on hold, so no other implications are.
added to the book?
And do we just do that by vote or just have it in our
We-
minutes?
I mean,
Thank you.
if,
It probably should be.
and
Yeah,
that's
I
what
think
almost what I
that's
was thinking.
appropriate. Yeah.
Whether we need to or not, at least we should
Yeah.
do it, and if we had needed to do it, it will have been done.
Yeah, check it out. So let's finish, we'll let everyone speak and then we'll come back to it and vote on that. Alright? Hank,
I just wanted to say my understanding of the apprentice license program, to my understanding, or from what I've seen, is for young kids such as sons, daughters, nieces, nephews of commercial fishermen who fished in the town for a number of years. A way for them to be able to bring their kids out into the fisheries and explore it as we did when we were younger. As for Jake being specifically concerned with my kids wandering the flats and keep saying that they were sleeping in the boat, they slept in the boat one morning when we got out there for about 20 minutes because they were up late the night before. When they're out walking the flats, half the time they are by my side working. They're getting baskets and bringing them over, they're picking up clams. They're out exploring the flats, they come back and say, hey, there's a big spot of razor clams over here or over there, you know. They're doing more than just building sand castles and playing in the sand. They're actually exploring the fisheries, learning about crabs and all the species out there. So I think that that the fact that I get continuously harassed by Jake about this situation is kind of out of hand. And like Joe said, it's petty little things about the apprentice program that are being blown up way out of proportion. I think it's a very basic, simple program where commercial fishermen should be able to bring out, as I said, nieces, nephews, sons, daughters to explore the fisheries. I don't think you should I mean, you can put a pause on the program, but when you bring it back into play, it should be for sons, daughters, nieces, and nephews of commercial fishermen who want to learn and explore the fisheries.
yeah, and I agree that the program, you know, can have some good come out of it. It's just, there's so many different directions with this at the moment. And obviously it's worth for discussion. I mean, everyone's got a point to make, but just kind of clearing the air, put it on pause, figure out a plan going forward, of how we want it to look like, if we want it, whatever. But that's just the situation we're at right now, like with the 7 permits and potentially putting it on hold for now, right?
Oh, look at the question. Now, if I wanted to help her, if I want to bring my sister out, she has no idea, you know, she just wants to go out and experience and help me. You know, she doesn't want a license, she doesn't want to be in the fishery, she says, I'll give you help, I'd like to go and help you one day. Do I have to get a permit for her or?
State
Is
license.
this-
The boat license.
Boat license.
If you get a boat license, then your helper is covered. We just ask that you, if you have a boat license, that
Yeah.
you just let us know who's helping you. If you're just licensed as an individual, our regulations require that that helper also have a state shellfish and seaworms permit.
So I just use my regular boat permit and I have my sister wants to come out for an afternoon.
Yeah, and you just
help.
say, hey, I have this person coming out with me to help
Okay.
me today.
That's all right, okay. She's not gonna be out there much, I can tell you. Once she gets a taste of that, she'll go, you know. I'll wait for you when you get home.
And Amy, it seems to me if that's the case, that all you gotta do is let you know that there's someone gonna be on the boat with you. Why do we need this apprentice program at all? I mean, it seems like it's so complex and so complicated, so difficult to monitor, as we've seen, that,
Yeah,
you know, is it necessary?
well,
Does it serve a, you know, any purpose?
it was a way for those relatives of commercial permit holders to get into a closed fishery.
But is that what we want?
It's what has been in existence since before my time, and when we
Yeah, well,
revisited
that's-
it,
that's
we
the
had,
point, though,
you know,
isn't it?
discussions about it. And now we have 7 people that are existing in this program, and now we're having issues.
Yeah.
So we're like, if we suspend the program now, honor the 7 people that are in it, and then figure out where we're going with it moving forward
I think that
is
makes, I mean, that
kind
makes
of
a
where
whole
we're,
lot of sense,
where
I'm
we're
not
at.
arguing, I
Yeah.
think that's,
We-
but I just question in the long term, is this something we even want?
Well, what's crazy is that it's been on the books since
well,
People
the
could have been doing
90s.
this for, this isn't.
Yeah, but now we're going.
And less regulated than this,
I
and
would
so.
hardly argue that by what, we get 2 extra, like what's the less regulation?
Huh?
There was not really any less regulation now or then, it's just,
Well, yeah, I guess we did establish a different number of hours and we changed the ages and then I think some of the.
Well, last meeting, you're talking about? Or-
No,
that's not
that's
right.
just like
Yeah, we were just
moving
talking.
forward if I draft these
Yeah,
regulations,
yeah.
but that's gonna be something that everyone's
Yeah.
in agreement on, and obviously we're not on agreement on it.
Tyler?
Yeah, just however this does pan out, over the years, digging next to some people in this room and some of the guys digging steamers especially, like, we always have heard about like, oh, you guys have it so good, like this harbor used to get dug out, like there used to be nothing, they'd open up a spot and we'd chew through it in a week, and that's when there are a lot of permits. And I'm in my 30s still, my concern here is I don't want 20 years to slip by and all of a sudden we're in that time where like it used to be, we'd get a set and it would last a couple years or a year, whatever, and like now a set lasts 2 seconds. So just I'm thinking long term here, and I just don't. Yeah, I'm thinking long term. Like I think we'd be kicking ourselves to add these permits to the list and all that. So I'm just thinking long term.
I would
We should.
conversely just say, like thinking long-term about this fishery and about habitat degradation and about water quality issues and about the fact that we just keep putting moorings everywhere and my mooring area closure is just only going to keep expanding.
Right.
We eliminated a lot of day restrictions during a lot of months for this commercial fishery. We shrunk significantly the area that is closed to commercial within the harbor in recent years. And at your request
Yeah.
to DMF, now have areas that were closed for 3 months of the year that are now open. So, while sets may come and go, like it's a balance of things.
Yeah.
And you've been given a lot, I would say, in the last decade that gives you a lot more space. I mean, I realize that a lot of that is shrinking, say in a place like 3 Bays because of seasonal closures. But in the harbor, a lot of the harbor has been opened up to you in recent years.
Yeah.
And for more time than you've ever been able to access it. And so think about that too. You have to look at both sides of that coin.
just because an area is open doesn't mean there's anything there to fish for.
True.
And just because we opened an area doesn't mean we can let more people in. It wasn't the idea wasn't obviously, I'm assuming, to open up more areas so that we can increase the fishery. I think it was to open up the area to give the existing fishery less pressure and more options. And as far as like the like that we're getting this and it's like a gift or something, I mean, I think that if an area tests positive for water quality, it shouldn't be closed. I don't think that's like a, you know, like a gift or anything. I think that's the government working for the people. I think that if we do water quality testing, we pay for that. And then, in fact, in this situation you brought up, Tyler and I think Scott paid in their own time and fuel to bring it out there. And Wayne to bring out the testing. You know, so that's not like, you know, it's not a gift. That's just we're improving the fishery for the people that are existing in the fishery. And it wasn't to increase the fishery. It was to make this 47 licensed fishery better, you know?
I will just again reiterate, this apprentice program has been in place
Yeah, I know.
since I was in high school, so it's not something that like came to fruition as a result of this committee discussing it 2 years ago. It was already in existence. What we attempted to do was have better checks and balances on it that we're now recognizing aren't potentially working to the effectiveness that we'd like them to, but we already have 7 people in this program.
No, I get that. Yep.
Last one. Is it family owned?
So we have one godson that is currently
I mean, in the
program?
like rule, Hank was saying something.
It
So it's just-
used to be. We
Used
changed
to be,
that.
okay, so that's
Yeah.
open to, okay.
Because the concern that Paul had brought to my attention was it was somebody that was interested in the fishery that he or somebody else was willing to sponsor, but that wasn't like a relative of them, but was a resident of this town and a child that was interested in commercial shellfish.
Okay.
That person never made it into the program.
I was gonna ask.
No, and there was another older gentleman that, and I don't remember his name because he only reached out to me, I think once or twice about it. And at the time, the child of interest didn't meet the age requirement and also wouldn't have been sponsored directly by like a parent. And so it didn't fit under those regulations, which was part of the stuff that we started discussing. And so we opened it up a little bit to fit like the more sort of dynamic like family structures, I guess, of today. And had looked at increasing the age and had looked at hours and then had talked about policy in terms of documentation. And that's what lands us here today. It started off like, you know, like Scott's saying is, you know, 14 to 16, you go out for 2 years and then it's like you're good to go. But with increased interest, we wanted to try to manage it a little bit more appropriately, given that it is a very privileged permit. And we're learning. It's a process.
Sounds good.
Welcome to aquaculture reform, except commercial fishing.
Scott?
I just wanna say, I heard Tyler say that he's looking at the future, 20 years and all that stuff. I've had my license for 30-some odd years, 30-something years. I've harvested shellfish in the wild fishery less than I have, you know, because there was nothing in the harbor today. The razor clam thing, it's the second time in the 34 years that I've been in the harbor that I've seen a razor clam set. It's not gonna be a normal thing, it's just something that happened. Steamers, they're not happening unless you have an aquaculture grant and you put down nets to protect them and stuff. There's no wild sets of steamers anymore. So if you think you're gonna go out there for the next 20 years every day without an aquaculture farm and harvest in Barnstable Harbor, it's not gonna happen.
You can check out my,
You'll be-
I got cast reports from 10
You'll be
years.
living on toothpaste sandwiches, believe me. Ain't happening.
So I wanted to come tonight just because I think my focus is on sustainability. So when I look at the fishery as it stands with the current amount of people in the industry, I do feel like there are people who are able to work that full time. And so natural resources, managing the resource from a sustainable perspective, but also I think we have to look at those licenses from a sustainable perspective. We've seen historically, there's stories told about how when there were more, how it was impossible to work certain years, you couldn't make a living off of it. I do feel like we've kind of hit this cruising altitude where it's working for some people here, and I just hate to get lax and then have that come at a cost. So I would love to not dilute things at this point, knowing how well it's working for some.
And I mean, that's why I think, we put this program on pause.
And I'm in support of that, thank
Just
you.
halt it, honor the 7, it is what it is, figure something out. Joe?
I just wanted to address the whole idea of sustainability, how the past, and to maybe touch on something Scott was saying. Over the years, there's good years, there's bad years, there's big steamer sets, there's big razor sets. On the south side, there's been big quahog sets. There's a big set, you dig it out, you wait for the next one of whatever species it is. In the middle here and there, there's smaller sets here and there to lesser degrees. Some years there's a lot of guys digging. On the leaner years, there's a lot less guys digging. Very few people are strictly 100% commercial shell fishermen in this town. I don't really know if there's any. Some that would claim to be also have shellfish farms, which kind of clouds that distinction. But I don't think that the idea that we can always have a sustainable 3 different species of shellfish to always harvest year after year, I don't know how realistic that is. That's never really been the case in this town or in many other towns that I know of, especially since we're talking about habitat degradation and water quality degradation. I mean, things are tough for some species to reset and come back given what the conditions of the water and the ground are. To limit this, to interject on the fishermen more government regulation on something that's just not what we've been about, it's disturbing. And it's about, my opinion, I think it's greed over a public resource. Consider yourself lucky that I consider myself lucky that I'm able to take part in this fishery as good as it is right now. I hope it lasts as long as it does, but you know what? Realistically, there's gonna come an end to this set and hopefully there'll be another one after it. Maybe we'll wait a little, I don't know. But if you wanna slow down the speed at which we dig it out, maybe we should look at other ways, like eliminate helpers in the fishery. A helper that doesn't have a commercial shellfish license, who's realistically getting a percentage of that catch for their day's wage, and they don't have a permit. So that's something to consider. Whatever percentage of that catch you're paying your helper, why not slow down the rate at which we're digging it out by eliminating helpers? There's no real need for a helper. Put the sprayer down and go pick up your stuff.
You got a daily limit, and it doesn't matter how quick you get the limit. You get your 4 baskets, it's 4 baskets.
Maybe guys won't get their limit without a helper.
Yeah, maybe they won't, I don't,
Alright, so I mean, anyone else have just a general comment as far as putting the program in pause? Let's stick with that.
I'd like to make a motion to.
I mean, I'm gonna just see if there's any more comments regarding.
Oh, sorry.
Connor's first.
Connor, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't like that anybody can be an apprentice. Like, my neighbor's 21. I could go across the street, sign them up, and there'll be a 48th permit next time around. So I could see that being a slippery slope. It should be family or guardian, your stepkids, whatever. There should be some degree of Yeah, affiliation. Just like, you know, if anybody, you know, I could go find a guy and I could start like making permits, you know, that just seems like it could be a slippery slope. 21 sounds crazy. For,
It's still 18, just
Yeah.
to be
yeah,
clear.
well, I know it was like, it was recommended, that's a lot, and then I don't know about the permits going back to the list.
Yeah, we
after.
discussed that too.
I'm not sure if I'm for the permits going back to the list, you know, like you get your permit, you use it your whole life if you're lucky, and then there's still 47 permits in town, you know, at the end of the day. Like I can't see that affecting the family or like the, you know, and it keeps it fair for the people that are already on the list. You know, cause you just keep piling people on and next thing, you know, like we're old and there's 80 guys out there, you know. I just don't wanna see it come to that. But-
There are, you know, there are people who are actually out there who have permits who never use them.
Yeah.
And they're just in the way of people who might wanna use them, which is fine with me.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's how it works.
To say, are you suggesting quotas, Jeff?
No, I'm just saying, just that,
Did you have
when you talk about permits, I'm just saying there are people who have permits who never even use them.
Mr. Chairman,
I got one more comment. One more
I'm
comment.
used to it.
Go
I live
ahead.
with him, I'm used to it. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Cindy, I'm Scott's girlfriend, and I do have a license and I do help him. I've had one for over 34 years like Scotty. And the fishery, as he said, there's only been 2 razor sets that I can account for that like him. The fishery has come and it's gone. I've seen it multiple times, 30 years. And he does do it full-time for a living. That is his job every day. So, that's all.
So I think, you know, we start off,
Quick,
I
just
think,
quick, just very
yeah.
quick. So I know we're not gonna take away or stop the 7 permits, but is there a way to make it so that they don't go on the list if they lose them, or is that still too late?
I think at the moment, that's just too late.
Is it like, how do we know, like, how can we get an,
But it's
maybe can we get an
still
answer on that?
there's a chance that it doesn't happen too, you know?
No, I understand, but is there a way, like, is there a way to find out? Like,
where's it written?
we won't take it away,
That's right,
like, I'm not, but like, maybe we could, and that's very messy, I get where you're coming
Right
from,
at
but
the
maybe
bottom.
we could just, for those 7 people, also maybe address that, because I
Maybe
know,
ask them.
I mean, I don't know who
And
asked.
I'm not sure how to go about that, I mean, as far as.
That's regulatory change.
Yeah.
One thing that I've learned when we changed aquaculture licenses, your ability to transfer from 3 years to 5, that applied backwards. And that was what the legal department told me at that time. So we were operating under anybody that already had an existing license would just be under those 3. And they're like, nope, it applies to everybody. So if we were to decide that those 7 permits don't, through public vetting, public hearing, all that fun jazz that goes into normal shellfish regulation changes, it would, to my understanding, I would have to double check with legal. We have an entirely new legal team. Lawyers interpret things differently depending on how they're written. But it's my understanding that while these 7 apprentices were in the program, if we were to change the age requirement to 21 and say we don't want these permits to be added permanently to the fishery, that those types of changes would retroactively apply to them.
This one regulation of not letting them go back onto the lottery seems to be the only suggestion that I don't think anybody's had a problem with. So I was wondering if it's okay if maybe at next meeting, if you could maybe draft it and then we could possibly vote on it, and just to get the ball rolling on stuff.
But I figure we can
Family only.
get this recommendation to suspend the program. I think, you know, do we vote on just right away whether to have it or not? I mean, it seems like we got people that don't want it at all. You know, and that's kinda, we could hit that first as a board. And then, all right, we wanna do it still, then we figure out a way to go about it. You know, there's age, there's endorsements, there's how to regulate, there's, should it be a relative, there's, you know, should we put a cap on how many there are total, you know? There's a ton of different ways we could go about this, but I think, I'm hearing I've heard quite a few people say, should it even happen? I mean, I guess we should start with that and then move forward from there. But, I mean, that's just my thoughts, I mean, whatever we think from there, but let's get the first part done, let's suspend this program.
It's a really complex issue.
Yeah, and we need time.
We need lots of time, I think.
Mhm.
And I agree with everything you said about. I would make a motion that we suspend the entry of new apprentices into the program until such time as the existing regulations are reviewed, changed, or amended as necessary and approved.
Do we have a second? I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Alright, so
So there you go.
we'll start there, and then I think we go into next meeting, we put into the agenda, I guess, a vote on whether to do the program or not.
What about can we also do the regulation change?
Yeah, we'll,
Can we do that? Cause I mean, it just seems like and I haven't heard anyone say no.
yeah,
We don't
I'm
even
just
really
trying
have
to
to discuss
think
that
as
one
far
too
as-
much, you know what I mean?
yeah, I mean,
Well, it
that's,
still needs like a formal.
Sure, but that's what I
formal
mean,
review and
it's not
vote.
gonna take a lot of the meeting.
I
but,
can
yeah.
draft that.
yeah, okay.
If that's like a placeholder that you're looking for, that will make you feel more comfortable, I'm fine with that, because like I said, I have no stake in this game, so whether or not additional permits are added to the fishery doesn't personally affect me, does however need proper vetting. So I'll draft something, we'll bring it to the next committee meeting for review. You guys can discuss it, you can vote on it if you want, and then I can plop it up on the town website for the general public to review and comment on as they see fit.
Thank you.
I just think that the committee perhaps should think about what you discussed tonight. I think you had some good thoughts. But I think the first thing we need to do at our next meeting is to really think about whether this program is worth all of the aggravation that it seems to be causing. No one seems to be happy with it. And a lot of people are unhappy with it. I'm not sure what it's doing for us, but I think we should think about it until November. And first issue maybe then should be just decide whether we want the program. Then we can think about what changes, if we agree that it's something we want.
Yeah, instead of just like, say at the end of it, we're like, we do all this discussion and then why not just hit the main point right at the start?
Exactly.
I mean, if it's a case where it's too much of a hassle, then, we don't have to spend the next year and a half talking about it. But it is what it is. I mean, that's why we have this committee. Scott, go ahead.
Congratulations to the Magnificent Seven, the last 7 apprentices that we're gonna have. Get rid of this program, be done with it.
All right, if that's all right,
Can I make another motion,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, that we adjourn?
do I have a second that? Yeah. All in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.